Okay, so what should young people do? Should they still treat places like this? Come to Toronto, come to Canada, come to the US, come to the UK. There's been this entire rush of Indian students wanting to go overseas. Many of them take these loans. Many of them spend a lot of money. Is that still the right approach, or is that not? And who better to tell us all about this than two of the leading experts in the field, actually. Usha Albuquerque, Director, Career Smart Private Limited, who's been really advising and guiding, an entire generation of young kids, and Akshay Chaturvedi, founder and CEO of, at Leverage Edu. Thank you both so much for being with us. Akshay, let me get you in on that. So 2 or 3 things about the pandemic. One, a lot of people did go abroad, and then they had this bad experience, or call it whatever you will, that you're paying all that money, but you're working online, you're still working from back in India. So that was one. Jobs are important, right? And if you do have a situation where jobs continue to dry up, as you correctly saying, then you've invested that much money, you've spent that much money, and then you're back with a debt on your head, or your parents have paid a lot of money, and you're back in India.
So, first of all, thank you, Vikram. Thank you for having me and Leverage Edu on your very esteemed panel. 2 quick points I wanted to make, largely just kind of going back to your context as well. I think it's very important to understand that I think the kind of students we've spoken about right now between you and Usha are just 2 or 3% of people who essentially go out abroad. The remaining 97% people who go out abroad are not going to the top 20, 30, 40 universities. Today, we are doing about 150,000 counselings every single month. I have 1,200 plus counselors at Leverage Edu. I think they're one of the largest repositories of mentor-mentee conversations happening from an India to abroad perspective right now. And we have seen that majority people who essentially want to head out abroad, want to head out for jobs, want to head out for employment. And when you look at this perspective, you have to understand that a lot of people who are kind of coming back disappointed are people who are going to the countries which are somewhere in that troubled visa region, likely the US, right? But if you look at, for example, the UK had Brexit come in, they had the post-study work visa come in. Because of that, everybody who goes to the UK kind of comes back with a 2-year post-study work visa. Justin Trudeau has been very kind towards immigration for a long time now. You're in Toronto right now. Australia, to compete with UK's 2-year post-study work visa, has launched a 3-year post-study work visa. So you have a large set of countries right now in the Anglo world who are really going out, like Usha said, opening their gates wide enough, not just for students who kind of come in, but also because they have a huge dearth of jobs right now for these students. So I think that's very, very important to understand. The second quick point that I would like to make is that, and I think we see the data from our platform itself, we have 65% plus of people who apply via Leverage to come in from beyond tier 2 cities. So we have people kind of going in from the likes of Gurdaspur, Moga, Kapurthala in Punjab, or Vijayawada, or Ernakulam, or Indore, or Patna, and so on and so forth. So I think the real revolution happening in this space are people who kind of coming from tier 2 and beyond cities. And they're not going to necessarily the top 20, 30, 40, the Ivy Leagues or the Oxbridges kind of universities. They're going to universities where they will be able to kind of have a much better lifestyle as compared to what they will have in India. These are people not looking to kind of get a job at an investment bank or as a product manager at Facebook. These are people who are kind of looking to get a job worth $50,000 or 40,000 Canadian dollars, 30,000 pounds. And that quality of life is going to be way better than something in Okhla, Noida, Navi Mumbai, or Whitefield. And I think that's a larger thing that we should speak about when we think about this whole migration that is happening from India across the entire world, or from emerging economies to the larger developed world largely. I think what's very important, hence, is that people end up going to the right colleges. We have had 3 colleges, for example, in Canada shut down in the last 3 months because people would essentially start flipping out burgers. So I think hence we have had more countries like UK and Australia come up. And I'm seeing the larger set of people who are kind of going in now are people who are more informed, people who are not using those visa or kabutar services of sorts in Punjab or in Kerala or in Andhra. And they end up going to public universities who promise employment, who essentially line up recruiters for them. So even the landscape is also changing very, very fast, and we need to appreciate that.
Okay, so and I think we've touched upon a theme that we're going to keep coming back to, because on the India story, we're really looking a lot at what's happening with the diaspora. The fact that people are going, and I think both of you have made some very interesting points, that a lot of people are going not necessarily for those Ivy League colleges that we hear so much about. They're also just going to try and find a place to get a job. Just very quickly from both of you, if somebody is watching this, where's the confluence probably the best right now? If it was Canada, in Toronto where I am right now, Canada, would it be the US, would it be the UK, would it be Australia? young people watching this and saying, okay, let me try and apply right now in this season, or they're trying to decide between going to an Indian university and abroad, what would be your last 1 or 2 line advice? Which country to choose? What sort of course to take? What would you say, Akshay?
Okay, so I can go in first. I think in my view, there's a clear-cut winner in UK right now. Given most people who essentially end up coming to the UK, they come through a very, very clean path. They mostly end up going to public universities, unlike Canada. They essentially have a slightly clearer path in terms of employment as well. And again, I would like to point out that, and I completely agree with Usha ma'am on people who end up going to the top 20, 30, 40 colleges, because then their expectation also is that they will land up in those jobs who pay them 100K all the way to about $500,000 salaries. But people who are essentially kind of who are within the remaining 97% people who head out abroad are also people who end up going for postgraduate degrees. Likely that people between 21 to 24, they're taking this decision themselves, and hence they end up going to countries which will necessarily have an employment option at the end of the degree. And they end up going to courses, I would say, like our largest 31% people who kind of went through Leverage Edu in the last 2 intakes in September and January were data science. We have had gaming, animation, design, luxury fashion management, brand marketing. All of those are essentially your top 8, top 10. Because people end up getting good enough jobs right after this, and then they essentially want to build up on top of this.
All right, great. That's actually excellent advice. Thank you both so much. Thank you both so much, actually, Usha, for joining us with that. It's really clear. I'm going to keep getting you back for this, but I think this is a series that, that advice is really valuable to a lot of people. Very good final advice. Don't necessarily go for undergraduate. Remember, that's 4 more years of fees that you've got to pay, and you may not get a job immediately afterwards. So think about doing your undergraduate in India and then go abroad. Thank you both so much for having joined us.
Thank you for having me here.